Welcome to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno.
And we are back. What a week it's been. Certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno. And with me, as always, is the world's greatest administrator, Lauren Trollson.
Hello, episode 30.
This is 30, huh?
Episode 30, yeah.
A couple of years ago, well, a year ago, I was saying this is 40, and I felt kind of run down. But episode 30, I feel like the more we do, the more amazing things start to happen, right?
Absolutely.
It's crazy. Well, this week in history, since we're on episode 30, we might as well keep it the same. This week in history, 1982. I was 1 year old, Lauren. 1982, Jane Fonda's first workout video was released.
Wow.
Have you ever done a Jane Fonda workout?
You know, I've done some aerobic classes. I don't know if it's been a Jane Fonda workout, but, I'm sure there's some similarities there.
I've done a Richard Simmons workout.
I believe that.
Like sweating to the oldies. My mom used to be into that, so I've tried that once. Okay, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster occurred, resulting in 32 deaths and dozens more suffering radiation burns. 1993, exactly 30 years ago, World Wide Web launches in the public domain, and the world has gone to hell in a handbasket ever since, right? And 2004, the World War II monument opens in Washington, D.C. Now, you've been to Washington, D.C., right?
I have.
I think we want to go to Washington, D.C. for different reasons now. I feel like it's time to hold up the signs and say, when is enough enough? But, obviously, that's just another story there. So you got anything, Lauren?
I've got a little say what? Fun facts about life insurance.
Oh, boy.
In 2022, 106 million American adults were without life insurance or considered underinsured. 50% of Americans reported owning life insurance in 2022, and more than 50% of Americans overestimate the cost of insurance by 300%.
Wow.
In 2021, insurance benefits and claims totaled $790.8 billion. According to the Insurance Information Institute.
So just in 2021, $790.8 billion with a B insurance claims. Well, you know what? Let's do a little identification then. Actually, this was a great segue. We needed to break that down a little bit more. I am Adam Bruno. This is Lauren Trollson. We are here from Evolution Retirement Services and Evolution Wealth Management. And every week we spend some time with you and we talk about all of the issues going on around the world as well as how it affects your retirement. And if you are one of our families, which most of you are, we love you all and we love bringing you the latest and greatest information. And speaking of which, this life insurance topic, I feel like you and I haven't spoken about this enough on this podcast, and I think we should probably spend a few minutes actually tackling this because there are families that are confused by this. And first of all, let's just be real about it. There are thousands of different types of insurance that you can buy, right?
Thousands.
You're saying life insurance, but there's all these different products. It's like saying Nissan, and there's like 50 different models, right? So the number one thing to remember, a good rule of thumb, the cheapest insurance that you can buy is term insurance, which is good for a certain period of time.
A short term.
Right, exactly, a short term. So 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, depending on your age. Now, that is great for the younger generation who are just trying to protect their family, trying to protect their mortgage, their debt, if anything were to happen to them. And it is cheap, right? It's not something that's super expensive. So when you're younger, obviously that's the best choice, is just buying term insurance. I have, a couple $1 million worth of term insurance just in case, right? Because I did it proactively as I was becoming more and more successful. I knew that there was a lot more to replace if anything happened to me. So, and I was a single dad for a long time. So life insurance always the thing about life insurance is it's the only thing that you pay for that you'll never actually see, right? You don't actually get to see it, right? And then you have other types of life insurance that's good for building cash value that you can eventually borrow from yourself. The problem is that it takes a lot of money to do that, to make a significant impact and pay yourself that type of an income stream. So you see a lot of the seniors and the boomers getting attacked with this idea of indexed universal life insurance, variable life insurance, insurance that builds cash value that they can borrow from. The problem with that, though, and you and I have talked about this a million times, it's just a question of the fees for the first 10 years are extremely high. So you're going to spend the first 10 years just spinning your wheels with this thing. So you have to have the time to put into it. And if you're in your 60s already, then it's really hard to do that and justify doing that, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that nobody should buy it. I'm saying that it's meant for specific situations, and it's meant to be part of an advanced plan rather than just hearing a TikTok video. That's the thing that I love now. My son's showing me these TikTok videos of these young kids talking about buying index universal life insurance and being their own banker. I'm not even sure these kids have an insurance license, but it makes sense when you're younger because you do have a lot of time. But
and everything's on the internet.
That's
so you can
true.
Just, you can find it out and
it's
do
crazy,
some research.
Right? I mean, it's just a crazy world we live in. So the different types, when we talk about, I think that was a great statistic you shared that more than 50% of Americans overestimate the cost of life insurance by 300%. And the reality of that is because everybody's looking at permanent or whole life insurance at that point. So you're paying one price to have that coverage no matter how old you are for the rest of your life. And if you're older and looking at it, it's more expensive. The younger you are, the better. I spent the first part of my career selling Gerber life insurance grow-up plans for babies. And that was actually, sad story, that was my first death benefit that I ever got a call about, was a little young kid that I had done the policy for 3 or 4 months before that, a $50,000 whole life policy. And with Gerber, it's nice because it doubles to $100,000 when they turn 18, but it's the exact same price. And I think she was paying, $38 a month for it or something like that. So when you get it young like that, that's great because they have it for the rest of their life and they're only ever paying $38 for $100,000 of coverage. Well, unfortunately, somebody was backing out of the driveway, a relative or something had come to visit, and the little boy was in the driveway, and it's just a nasty situation. It was horrible. But the reality is, that's why you purchase life insurance. And if you're thinking about whole life or permanent insurance of some kind, you have to do it when you're young because that's the only way it's going to be that affordable. Now, whole life insurance is an investment. You hear a lot of information about that, Lauren. You hear a lot of people saying, well, it's great because it builds cash value and you get dividends every year. Now, that might be true, but it's not a guaranteed dividend every year.
Right.
And the dividends have actually been going down with whole life insurance. So it's nice to get a dividend, but if you're going to get 5% in a CD or something, like why are you tying up the money with a death benefit and everything else right now when you could just do it that way? So there's a lot of different types of insurance out there. Hopefully those couple little highlights there can help you understand out there, everyone who's listening, it has to be part of a plan. You have to have the right team showing you which tool in the toolbox you should be using. And with life insurance, it's a sales game. It's everybody just trying to sell you on the ideas. It's just like going into a car dealership. We probably don't need massaging and heated seats in our car, but boy, it sounds cool to talk about, right?
Sounds amazing. Yeah. Well, the cooling seats in Florida too.
Listen, I feel like those are a necessity in Florida, but that's just my opinion. I think it's important. So yeah. So, I'm glad you brought that up, Lauren. That was a good find, actually. It's a great facts there. Good find. What else you got?
May 2nd is National Life Insurance Day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Observed in honor of the anniversary of the first day that life insurance became available in the United States. The sale of life insurance in the U.S. began in the late 1760s.
Unbelievable. Covered wagons selling life insurance door to door on covered wagons. It's crazy. My grandfather, I found out later on, my grandfather on my mom's side, and you all know the story, my grandfather on my dad's side, the Sicilian immigrant. But my grandfather on my mom's side was actually an orphan, and he grew up in an orphanage, and then they kind of turned him loose when he was 18 and gave him a suit and I think $5. I think that's what they got, and they were thrown out into the world, right? He was a very, very talented musician, and he spent a lot of his time in New York. And he actually had a chance to sell one of his songs to Duke Ellington, and he refused to sell it to him because Duke Ellington only wanted the song and not the actual lyrics. Mm-hmm. So he refused. Stubborn man that he was. I have much more appreciation for him now that I'm older and I realize. But he learned about life insurance in the city there, and he started doing life insurance, and he would go door to door to collect the premiums every week. And he said it was like a nickel or 10 cents or whatever, right? And I don't know, our families probably don't remember those days, but I can imagine, 2 cents per week or whatever it was for life insurance. Can
and
you
walking
imagine?
door to door.
Walking. Well, they didn't have cars, right? I mean, 1760s. Did we have cars then? I mean, we ride our horse from door to door.
Yeah, the horse carriage, I would assume. Was the wheel invented by then?
I think so.
Yeah.
That was right along with fire. First it was fire, then the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I mean, and Lauren, the important thing to remember is obviously life insurance is an emotional purchase, right? You have to want to protect everybody in the worst case scenario because you're never going to see it. You can just go to bed every night knowing that if you don't wake up, everybody's taken care of.
Everybody else is taken care of.
Right.
Yes.
And that's, but obviously it's an emotional purchase. But I have to admit, looking at these numbers and these facts and everything, are you surprised at all that young people don't even think about this? A lot of the times you know what they say. Well, I have it through work. What do you got? $100,000 through work? What's that going to do for you? Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. Because, a lot of people that are younger, I think that work for different businesses, they might not have something to offer them. I think they, a lot of smaller businesses, they sometimes don't have a group life insurance,
I think that's absolutely true, right? I have no disagreement with that whatsoever. I would say that if I had to make a guess, and you probably would guess the same thing, I'm assuming, is that people are vastly probably underinsured if anything were to happen to them, right?
Yes.
But we'll spend $20 a day at Starbucks, go figure, right? Or the extra speedy internet. So I
stopped doing my Starbucks.
Well, it's okay if you spend $20 at Starbucks. You've got your ducks in a row.
True. Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's $7 for a coffee.
I never got that.
Like $6-7. I mean, even if you order the cheapest thing, I think it's still $4.
I was just in Orlando and I had a caramel mochaccino. Is it what is it from McDonald's? Caramel mochiata, caramel.
Yeah, caramel macchiato.
Yeah, I had one of those. That was actually pretty good. I'm not a coffee guy.
That's mostly just milk.
Is it just milk?
Pretty much.
Okay, well then milk
and espresso, I think.
No wonder Scarlett was trying to slurp it all down on me.
Yep.
Okay, so again, Evolution Retirement Services. If you want more information, you need more information, you have questions. You obviously have questions. You're listening to the podcast. I know it's entertaining to listen to us, but a lot of people do still have questions when they listen. So you can go to taxfreefortmyers.com. Just spell the whole thing out. Taxfree, FORTMYERS. And the book is there that was published. Obviously, I want to make sure I say it again. That was a team effort. I know it says my name on it, but what you're seeing in that book and what you're reading about is all of our years in business and the experiences that we've gone through. So it's a great resource. You also have access to all of our articles there. I wrote 2 articles for Kiplinger last year I feel like Kiplinger did a great job finally, thinking outside the box and actually talking about things that weren't being talked about, especially with the bond environment we were in. You can go to evolutionretirementservices.com to download those. You can schedule some time with us. You can call us. You can email us. You can never hear our voice if you don't want to, if you want to do everything by email. You can also sign up if you're in Florida or you're going to be in Florida. It's great to visit. Come on down. If you're going to be in Florida and you want to attend one of our live workshops, we're more than happy to have you. There's never a cost for any of those. We just want to be your retirement resource. And I think, Lauren, I'm a little biased, but I feel like we have really kind of set ourselves aside in this area as being a resource for families.
Yes, 100%. I think that we definitely offer our families something different than what's already out there and, trying to become an iconic company.
That's right. Iconic. That's right. I like that.
Fort Myers area.
Well, distinguished is good, but iconic is better,
yes,
right?
Distinguished is great.
We'll talk about that.
Being iconic.
That's
the top tier.
That's it. That's the piece de la resistance, right?
Yes.
So, and then the other thing, just remember, whatever your questions are about retirement, there's nothing that you can ask us that hasn't already been asked or hasn't already anything we've already seen. We've seen it all. We have 2 estate planning attorneys for all of your estate planning needs. We have 2 CPAs for any of the advanced tax planning issues. We have Medicare specialists for any of your Medicare questions or your Medicare surcharge questions, your investment questions. We've got a Kurt. Remember Marvel where
we have a Kurt.
We have a Hulk, right? Well, we have a Kurt. Kurt is just phenomenal. And he's, the team, you just can't say enough good things about everybody here. And their passion for helping people through retirement is really, obviously everybody likes to make money. Everybody likes to live a certain lifestyle. But the reality is we specialize in making sure you live the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement. So, okay, what else we got, Lauren?
Things every 50-something should know about retirement.
Okay.
Some of the highlights in this article: people in their 50s who are getting close to retirement have a lot going on with careers, mortgages, adultish age kids, and other responsibilities. Plus, you're inching closer and closer to retirement. So some things that you might want to know or need to know, have a retirement goal age. I mean,
that's a tough one, right? We talked about that a few podcasts ago. You talk about having a target retirement age. I mean, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't ever want to retire. I love what we do so much. I don't know that I ever want to retire, but I think it's a great idea to actually have the conversation and say, okay, if I were going to retire, what year would what
is
would that
the goal
look like?
year?
What's the goal?
Yeah.
Right. Obviously I have a goal to kind of step back a little bit more when Maverick and Scarlett start elementary school and do a little bit more with them. But, that's not a retirement goal. Do you have a retirement goal? Do you have an age?
I have an idea, I think about Social Security.
Right.
And I think about what that's going to be like at that point. I'll be 34 this month. Yay.
Yes.
And, I obviously, I think 60 would be a fantastic age to retire. However, I feel like 60 is so young. 60 is so young. And, doing everything you want to do still and having, those 20 plus years until you're 80 to do all those things would be fantastic because of your physical health and everything like that. But I think that, realistically,
what are you going to do when you wake up in the morning? Right? That's how I feel. Like, what are you going to do?
How many hobbies can you have?
I don't know if there's enough. Like, that's the thing, right? I mean, here's the thing. You realize, and I realize in our business, we get to have a lot of fun because you and I take our roles seriously, and we're traveling at least 6 or 7 times a year. We're hearing about the newest, investment knowledge, the newest tax knowledge. Heck, we're going to a life insurance summit, and that's coming up in another month in Indianapolis or something, right? Just to see what's going on in the life insurance world. So we always have the ability to travel, meet new people, see new places. So we're a little spoiled now. The average person who works normally doesn't have that opportunity.
Right.
So for me, I think less about the traveling and the experiences and more about when do I get to just step back on the ranch and feed the cows, right? Like that's really, I don't know whether I'll ever be in a position where I feel like I can do that though, because it's going to get boring. Like I'll
I
get
can
bored.
barely sit still during this podcast, let alone.
I noticed that you've crossed and uncrossed your legs like 3 times now.
That's
You're
what I do.
really, I know it's, I'm the same way. I have happy feet. So, okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay. Lengthen your long-term plan. So I don't think this is directly towards long-term care.
No, I think they're saying
lengthen your long-term plan,
like your
plan for retiring.
Right. And if you think you're going to live till 80, you better lengthen that, right?
Absolutely.
Like you better plan for 100, it's better to be, over prepared than under prepared. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Lengthen that plan because we're probably going to live longer than we think, right?
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. Mind the retirement income gap.
See, I have a big problem with this. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I spend a lot of time taking care of everybody in my family, taking care of as many people as I can. And I enjoy the experiences I have, the travel experience, things like that. So for me to walk away and not be able to do those things because there's no income coming in anymore, right? And you're just kind of living on this fixed idea, not necessarily fixed, but this idea of having a fixed budget. You know how much I hate that word.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate that word budget. But that is a true. You see it, and we see it all the time with families that come in and they're still working and they're making 200, 300, 350,000 a year. And there is going to be a gap, but they have plenty of investments, but now they'd like to still maintain that lifestyle. And that's not easy. I mean, it's possible and it's probable, but it's certainly not easy, right? So having to step away and now there's this big income gap. I mean, nobody feels good about that, right? Nobody wants to go back to Walmart at 80 and say, welcome to Walmart, right? So
I don't think so. Ways to reduce your tax bill. We talk about this all the time. We do workshops on this. I mean, reducing your taxes in retirement, and also, the reality of that taxes are not going away in retirement.
Such a big reality. You want to take that one? You've heard me say it enough now. You want to talk about the lie that they're told their entire life?
The lie that taxes are not going away. There are still the taxes. This is one of the lowest tax environments we've been in. And they just keep going up, and they are going to continue to go up.
Right, and that's the thing. Even if they're not climbing as much as we're used to right now, right? You're right. This is the lowest environment we've been in a long time. Do you really expect it to last? We are billions and billions of dollars in deficit between what the government is spending and what they're taking in. Not to mention the fact that, we're also $31 trillion in debt right now. So that's everybody's tax liability right now if we were to spread that debt out. So the reason that, we're talking about this is you have to assume, if you're intelligent, you have to assume that the only way to kind of limit that deficit and close that gap is by raising taxes. So yes, and you have to understand that taxes in retirement look a lot different than taxes when you're working, because when you're working, if you make a mistake on your taxes, you have an income still. You still have income coming in. You still have preparation that you can do. When you're retired, you don't have an income anymore. So if you make a huge mistake, it's over. I mean, you're making that taxes are getting paid and it's over. Anything that you take out of your IRA, that's why you hear me say it all the time about being so careful. If you have a lifestyle purchase you want to make, that's great. Don't be like one of our families that we met with and take $300,000 out of the IRA as a down payment on the boat. Like, don't do that, right? Because you're paying all the taxes. Now your Medicare is going to go through the roof. You just have to be very intentional and very specific with where you're taking the money from. And, we talk about this all the time, Lauren. It's almost like the families that we see when you get into that retirement mode, you become so afraid of leverage or debt, and you've literally worked your whole life. You have a perfect credit score. You have the perfect opportunity to leverage instead of paying cash for everything, especially if interest rates are lower, right? Obviously, right now, interest rates are a little bit higher, but think about the person who had a 2.75% interest rate on their mortgage. Would you rather pay the mortgage down, or would you rather take that $400,000 and get 5 or 6% on it? That's the reality, right? Because if you take that money away from there, you're paying down something that you're only paying 2.75% interest on, when you could have been getting 5 or 6% on that money. So you just have to be careful, because there's just no room for mistakes.
Absolutely. We always talk about too, Form SSA 44.
Right.
If you're retiring and you've got the half a year of your salary.
Right. You're doing it right. So what you were gonna say was that if your income's really high, and you worked for 6 or 7 months and then you retire, and then the next year your income isn't going to be high at all because you're retired, you shouldn't be punished for that and pay 3 times more for your Medicare Part B just because you had that last year of income showing, right? So you have to file that form, SSA 44, proactively and let the Social Security Administration know, listen, this is a one-time deal. I'm retiring. My income was high because I worked for 7 months. Next year, my income is not going to be high. So the year that you're retiring is called a life event, and that's what that form is for. It's for 8 specific life events that could happen that allows you to not have to pay 3 or 4 times more for your Medicare Part B. So that's absolutely a good example there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Going back to every 50-something should know about retirement. Plan for healthcare costs. Plan for long-term care. Plan for inflation.
Inflation. That's the ugly word these days, right?
I know it.
Yeah. And the 109-year average for inflation, when we're planning for our families, when we're doing those advanced income plans, we are using the 3.27% for inflation, the 109-year average. Everybody else is using the 2%, the 2 point something. You can't. You have to use the 109-year average. And, the other thing about that is that just comes down to being organized, right? And the big thing about being organized also is you need to clean out the financial junk drawer, because you've been through a couple different companies or a couple different careers. You've had a 401k at all of them, and now you have all these accounts spread out. Now it's time to consolidate and make sure we know where every account is, what the parameters are on all those accounts. You have to know all those things. You have to go through it, because it's just like the junk drawer, right? If you have the junk drawer at your house, you know where to find the soy sauce and the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Oh yeah, but everything's in there.
It's all in there, but it doesn't mean that you have to actually have it organized. You have to organize it in retirement, right? Because in retirement we can't have sodium, so we can't have that whole soy sauce thing going on. That's right.
Soy.
Yeah.
70 is the new 65.
Couldn't agree more. I feel like that's so true. You feel like
no,
that,
absolutely.
Right?
Well, that's what I was saying. If I thought I could retire at 60, I feel like that's just so young, to be out of it. And
I feel like by the time you retire, 75 is going to be the new 67 and a half for Social Security. Right. That's going to be the age where everybody can take the full Social Security at. I feel that's just my opinion. If it doesn't go away, right? Everybody's losing their minds over Social Security disappearing now. Well, what did you think was going to happen? We're not paying any taxes. You're spending all the money. I mean, what? Thank you, Biden. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. Aim for a balanced portfolio and resist the urge to check your portfolio.
These poor people, could you imagine retiring over the last 2 years? And these poor people are in front of those computer screens every day watching the balances go down and down and down. And the funny thing about that is, if you could call it funny, I think it's ironic funny, not funny, haha. Whatever they did, however many hours they spent looking at that screen, it didn't change a darn thing. The account still moved, right? So that's why when you say aim for a balanced portfolio, I don't agree with that at all. You know what I agree with? Aim for a goal-focused portfolio. So you never have to question whether your retirement goals are being met. You can plan it in a way, if you're goal focused, it doesn't matter that we had a bad year in the market. Maybe only a third of your money is highly exposed to that, right? And the other money is providing goals for us. We have income goals. We have all kinds of goals. We have long-term care goals. You mentioned long-term care. That you have things that need to be done in retirement. And if you're not goal focused, you are making a huge mistake right now. Whether you want to admit it or not, if you look at your portfolio right now and you say, oh, yeah, it's just fine. It's fine. I've got stocks. I've got bonds. I've got this. It doesn't matter. If you don't have goals, you have nothing. And you're only going to feel the pain eventually, whether you want to admit it or not. I hate to stand on my soapbox and say it, but it's true. We see it every day when somebody comes in, right? It's true.
And it's hard to make that transition for a lot of people.
You're right. It is a transition.
It is a transition. You've gone from, like we talk about, from building this your whole life and aggressively, wanting something to grow, and then, getting to retirement. And we talk about how, is that 13% or that 23% really going to,
change your lifestyle? But if you lost the 23%,
would it change your lifestyle?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're so good at this now, Lauren. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
It's like you do listen. You're the only person in my life that listens to me. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I see this last one here. Have a hobby, make fitness a priority, mentally prepare. I like all those. I can't argue with that, right? I mean, the reality is, and if you are worried about preparing and you just want good, honest, fiduciary advice, all you have to do is reach out to us, info@evolutionretirementservices.com. You can email Lauren, Warren, Kurt, myself, Adam at evolutionretirementservices.com. Your questions will be answered. We're not going to charge you anything for that. Obviously, we'll identify a few of you out there that want the professional help and you're a good fit with us, and we'll be able to work directly together. But when you contact us, our goal is to help 100% of the people that contact us, whether we work directly with them or not. So if you have any questions, taxfreefortmyers.com, spell it out, FORTMYERS, evolutionretirementservices.com. Heck, our phone number is 239-771-8696. Call and say hi. If you loved what we had to say, if you hated what we had to say, call and say hi, right? We'll talk to you. You know what's funny about that, Lauren, is you and I joke about this all the time, but it's absolutely true. All the families that we serve, the highly successful families that we serve directly, because we don't have clients, we have families. Those families tell us more than they tell their primary care physician, right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like the people that you do share the most with are probably your doctor and the person handling your finances. But we hear stuff even the doctor doesn't hear a lot of the times, right? We're therapists, we're financial advisors, we're wealth managers, we're doing everything here. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, there isn't anything that you can ask us that we haven't heard before. It's our pleasure to help you through this retirement journey, because we want you to make retirement exceptional. We want you only go around once, right? The old adage, you only go around once. Well, listen, you deserve the best retirement that you can give yourself, and we're more than happy to help you with that. Anything else you want to add, Lauren?
I think that's a wrap.
You think that's a wrap?
I think it is.
It's almost lunchtime, right? We got to get out of here. Got to blast off here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, you have been listening to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno, and with me as always, the one, the only Lauren Trolson. God bless you all. We'll see you soon.
Investment advisory services are offered through Evolution Wealth Management Incorporated, an investment advisor registered with the state of Florida. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. Evolution Wealth Management's unique CRD number is 307644. You can obtain a copy of Evolution Wealth Management's firm brochure, Form ADV Part 2A, free of charge by visiting advisorinfo.sec.gov. Evolution Wealth Management offers investment advisory services only, where it is appropriately registered or exempt from registration, and only after clients have entered into an investment advisory agreement agreement confirming the terms of engagement and have been provided a copy of the firm's ADV Part 2A. Insurance services are provided by Evolution Retirement Services. Any guarantees mentioned are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and may be subject to restrictions, limitations, or early withdrawal fees, which vary by the issuer. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. You should consider the charges, risks, expense, and investment objectives carefully before entering a contract. This material has been prepared for informational purposes only and should not be construed as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect either transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. This material is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for tax, legal, accounting, or other financial advice. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, and accounting advisors before engaging in any transaction. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services are affiliated entities.